Good afternoon, everyone, and welcome. I'll go ahead and call this meeting to order on August 8th, 2023, and ask our city clerk to please call roll.
Commissioner Guess?
Present.
Commissioner Henderson?
Present.
Commissioner Smith?
Here.
Commissioner Wilson?
Present.
Mayor Bray?
Present. I'll ask Commissioner Wilson to do the invocation, and we'll remain standing for the Pledge of Allegiance.
Let us pray. Dear Heavenly Father, thank you on behalf of all of us who are gathered here for the many blessings we have. Thank you for the beautiful day that we have been able to enjoy and for the ability to be involved in useful work. We come to you today asking for your guidance and support as we begin this meeting. Please grant us wisdom and as we make decisions on behalf of our citizens. In Jesus' name we pray. Amen.
Amen.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
City Manager, are there any additions or deletions to the agenda?
Mayor, none this evening.
Okay, and we have no public comments tonight, so the first item on the agenda is a proclamation. We have some visitors here, which we're very happy to see, so if you'll come up, I'll come over there and read the proclamation.
Is here okay? That's great.
So this comes from the Office of the Mayor. Whereas the citizens of Paducah, Kentucky, residing in senior care facilities have contributed immeasurably to the success, growth, and heritage of our community, and whereas we are grateful for the many professionals that provide individualized, personal, and memory care for our friends and loved ones, and whereas we are grateful for the many experienced and passionate people that strive to ensure that residents live in a safe and happy community home. And whereas we thank Charter Senior Living of Paducah for your dedication to your residents and their families, now therefore I, George Bray, Mayor of the City of Paducah, recognize August 8th, 2023 as Charter Senior Living Day. Everything you do.
you.
So.
Thank you.
All right, we'll get a picture. Let me get them.
There we go.
Okay. Okay.
Thank
Yeah,
you.
there you go. Thanks for coming. Great suggestion. Sorry I can't be there for the open. That's okay.
Thank you.
Come
out anytime you like.
Okay. Okay, next on the agenda, we have Bruce Wilcox, who's the president of the Greater Paducah Economic Development Organization. And maybe just before Bruce gives us an update, I'll just talk a little bit about economic development. For those who, most of you know, but economic development, working on attracting companies to Paducah, is a critical thing that we work on all the time. The city and county both contribute major amounts of money on an annual basis. And so Bruce is the CEO that runs that organization for the community. And so on a regular basis, he comes and provides all of us with an update on things that are going on. So Bruce, welcome.
Good evening, everyone. And on behalf of GPED, our staff, our board of directors, we thank you for the opportunity to come and speak with you this evening. The City of Paducah has always been a great partner, continues to be a great partner, and we appreciate your support. Without your support and your partnership, we would not be able to do the work at hand. So if you don't remember anything I say this evening, please do remember that we're very appreciative and thankful for your support and your partnership with us. This evening's presentation, I thought I would pretty much divide it into three sections, kind of update you a little bit on our GPED board and our investors, and then talk to you a little bit about activities that happened during our last fiscal year end. We're a June 30 fiscal year end, talk about project activity, increased asset holdings, and then how we're increasing our public awareness. So the comments this evening will be centered around that. So starting with our GPED Board of Directors, we had some different position changes that went into effect July 1st. Glenn Anderson was our past board chair. His term expired June 30th of this year, and Leon Owens with Swift and Staley. His term also expired as well. Both of these gentlemen rolled off our board, and as most of you know, both Glenn and Leon are wonderful public servants, and we'd like to publicly acknowledge their service and thank them again publicly for what they did for our organization. So they are both truly great servant leaders from the heart in the purest form. So we're very appreciative of Glenn and Leon. These two vacant positions were filled by Brent Hausman with Baird Investments and 50 North, LLC, and Mason DeJarnett with Fabic Cat and 50 North, LLC. So we look forward to working with them in the coming months. Their tenure on our board started July 1st. J.P. Kelly with Triangle Enterprises. J.P. was our board chair. He's moved to the past board chair position now. Greg Grissom, the president and CEO of Jackson Purchase Energy. He is now our chairman of the board of directors. Kevin McEwen, a senior VP over marketing with Paducah and Louisville Railroad, became our vice chair. And Megan Mansfield with Bacon Farmer Workman became our new treasurer. So we have a wonderful board of directors. It's a working board, and it's made up of subject matter experts, and we utilize them on relevant topics during our recruitment efforts. So I'm greatly appreciative of their support and the time that they put in working and supporting our organization. Also, during the past fiscal year, we added 6 new additional investors as well. So we're up to 54 investors. So again, not only are we seeing continued public support, but we're seeing continued growth within the private industry as well. When you look at the operations side of things from fiscal year ending 23, I'd call it a great success by many standards. I'd like to share some of those important events with you this evening, and I'll be happy to address any questions that you all might have in the interim, so feel free to interrupt me at any time. All of you are aware that GPED's mission is to recruit good jobs, prime movers, recruit jobs with good benefits to our community. So last year, GPED was directly affiliated with 4 new projects that brought new and additional jobs to our community. They were the Wealth Management Group, Moit Construction Supply, Vywintech, Windows and Doors, and Cryogenic Processors. We were affiliated with 185 direct new jobs with an average rate of pay of $23.28 per hour, or over $48,000 per year. Utilizing the M-Plan economic modeling software, we believe these 185 direct jobs will create an additional 131 indirect and induced jobs for a total job impact of 316. There has been or will be an approximately $31.7 million of new capital investment also associated with these projects. And the recurring economic annual benefit of these projects is anticipated to be $30.9 million on our local economy going forward every year. Throughout my career, I've always been one to try to show value, economic benefit, or return on investment, if you will. And the best way I know to do that for an organization such as ours is looking at the investor revenue or the contributions that our investors make into our organization and compare that as a percentage to the economic benefit that's generated from the projects that we're associated with. So last year, when you look at the return on investment, our organization was able to be a catalyst within, working with other organizations. The ratio was 35-1. So what that means is for every $1 our investors invested, including the City of Paducah, we generated $35 for every $1 that was invested into our organization. It's not a one-time investment. It's a recurring investment that happens year to year. So we're really excited about that. I know most all of us, if we could get that kind of return in our 401k plan, we'd all probably retire a little bit early. But we're really proud of that. Over the past 3 years, GPED has been affiliated with a total of 619 direct jobs and anticipated additional 406 indirect and induced jobs for a total jobs impact of 1,025. The average rate of pay has been $21.87 per hour, or over $45,000 per year, yielding $306 million in capital investment into our community and a $113 million economic impact. Of that $113 million, $80 million of that is recurring economic impact that circulates throughout our economy annually. Last year, we worked 40 different prospects with an average capital investment of $911 million, almost $1 billion. This is unprecedented activity that we've seen. We've been fortunate to look at projects and participate with the state and projects that our community has never been able to look at before. The average employment associated with these projects that we were able to participate in was 812. So again, we're seeing unprecedented interest in our community. We're also seeing unprecedented support from you, from the county, from our locally elected legislators in Frankfort, the Kentucky Cabinet for Economic Development, the Kentucky Department of Transportation, and the Governor's Office. So we continue to better position ourselves to win a substantial project for our community. I really, really like where we are and where we are headed. This past year, we also increased our asset holdings. We acquired 38 additional acres at the Triple Rail site from Canadian National. In my opinion, the 3 reasons the Triple Rail site has not been taken in years past was it's a river site, but it didn't have river access. So now we own 1,000 feet of river frontage. It didn't have sewers. We secured a $500,000 KPDI grant to get sewers started out to the Triple Rail site, and Joint Sewer Agency is going to match that and finish that off. And then the third reason was road access, and there's been about $10 million allocated in the biennium budget for getting a new road, and I'll mention that here momentarily. But anyway, in conjunction with this 38 acres that we acquired at the Triple Rail site, we also now have a desktop design of a bulkhead docking facility that someday will become Riverport West when we land the right project there. So we've already taken steps to get some preliminary estimates on what it would cost to put an additional riverport out at the Triple Rail site. We also applied for a $3.5 million federal grant to further that project along that we hope to hear about later this fall. With this land acquisition, we now own and/or control about 800 acres at the Triple Rail site. We also bush hog the remaining acreage at Industrial Park West. All of the park now is essentially shovel ready. All of the utilities are complete and in place. And again, we're seeing unprecedented interest in the park. We had a project site visit here just this week and one last week looking at Industrial Park West. Big Rivers Electric completed the upgrade to their 100 megawatt substation there. That was almost a $13 million upgrade. So there's more than adequate power now at Industrial Park West. Paducah Water completed the construction of its 1 million gallon water tank, and it's now in operation. The new $10 million access road into the Triple Rail site, construction should begin on that within the next 2 to 3 months. And again, we were notified of the $500,000 KPDI grant for sewers to the Triple Rail site that I mentioned. And we're very thankful to Joint Sewer Agency and John Hodges for their partnership with there as well. And additionally, we'll be coming back to you and looking for your partnership. We've applied for a $2 million Kentucky Product Development Initiative grant to build a 100,000 square foot spec building. We've actually lost some projects this past year to competing Kentucky communities because they have spec buildings and their assets were in a better place than what ours were, and they were site ready and ready to go. So the anticipated cost on that's about $7 million. But very favorable and hopeful that we'll receive that $2 million grant from the state as well. We've also done a lot of things to increase our public awareness. Most all of you have met Jim Moore. Jim is our new Director of Business Development. Jim started with us in July of last year. He's doing a fantastic job getting the work out. He's already completed recruiting trips to New York, to New Jersey, Toronto, Canada, Vancouver, Canada, multiple site selector forums and things, Atlanta, Detroit, San Antonio, Maryland. Next week I'm heading over to Virginia to another one. So we've been very busy getting out on the road, and instead of playing catch all the time, now we're pitching a lot as well. We've pitched our community to the project managers. Jim and I and some others went to Frankfurt, and we pitched our community to the project managers at the Kentucky Cabinet for Economic Development. I participated in a forum on KET television last fall, and then most recently participated in the Kentucky League of Cities. Darren was there for that. We hosted Kentucky Secretary for Economic Development, Secretary Jeff Knoll, back in January for a private investor event. And then with the Chamber, he came and spoke, I think, in April, wasn't it, Commissioner Wilson, or May? Somewhere around there. But anyway, a great solid relationship with the Cabinet for Economic Development. We've partnered with other Western Kentucky cabinet counties on what's called Kentucky Cornerstone. It's a collaborative marketing effort to try to get our names out in front of these battery and EV projects, the Ford Blue Oval SK project in Glendale over around Elizabethtown. We're actually closer to the one in Stanton, Tennessee. We're 150 miles from that site, so we're trying to capitalize on some of those Tier 1 and Tier 2 suppliers. So by increasing our public awareness and direct recruiting efforts, we've really diversified our project mix. Whereas in the past, 90% of our leads came from those that we generated on our own. This past year, 43% of our leads came from the state, which we're seeing a tremendous amount more of state engagement. 22% came from site selectors, which is a great improvement of where it's been in years past, and then 35% came from our own direct recruiting efforts. So we're executing our plan, and hopefully you can see that it's working. So I could go on, but as you can see, I think we're winning, and we continually better position ourselves to win even more. We have a very robust pipeline. We anticipate making an expansion announcement within the next 2 weeks with a local company. And we have other things that are in the pipeline as well. So again, I'm really encouraged with the support we're seeing and what we've been able to accomplish and what I see coming in the future. So the best is yet to come, and appreciate you all continuing to work with us. So I'll be happy to entertain any questions or comments or advice or criticism, whatever you might have.
Yeah, let's have some of that criticism. So.
Yeah.
I just appreciate what you're doing, and I know that you work hard and out there batting, and just thank you for all your work with the community, and I do feel like it's going to bear some fruit.
Thank you.
Or more fruit, rather.
Thank you.
Yeah, I have a bird's eye view of Bruce's work and Jim, and I would concur with everything that Bruce said. So I've actually been out to dinner in the last couple of weeks with both of the prospects that Bruce mentioned, and so just a lot of, like I've said before, there's, I don't know, 6,000 counties in the United States, and they're all out there pitching, and they're all looking for projects. So it's highly competitive, but we just have to keep up the good work. So,
Yep. All right.
All right.
Thank you.
Thank you for being here, Bruce.
Thank you.
Okay, we'll move to the consent agenda. Items on the consent agenda are considered to be routine by the Board of Commissioners and will be enacted by one motion and one vote. There will be no separate discussion of these items unless a board member so requests. in which event the item will be removed from the consent agenda and considered separately. I have one item that I'd like to remove from the consent agenda and move it to the regular agenda, and that is the contract, that's item E, the contract modifications for the Robert Cherry Civic Center. Would any other commissioner like an item removed for separate discussion? Okay, so I'll go ahead and ask the city clerk to read the items recommended for approval.
Approve minutes for the July 25th, 2023 Board of Commissioners meeting. Receive and file documents. Reappointment of Gail Kaler and appointment of Mickey Carmen to the Paducah Planning Commission. Said term shall expire August 31st, 2027. Personnel actions, a municipal order approving a fleet maintenance motorized equipment emergency apparatus service agreement with the Melbourne Volunteer Fire Department to provide fleet maintenance services at hourly rates and authorizing the execution of all documents related to same. A municipal order authorizing the purchase of dumpsters, lids, and replacement parts in the amount not to exceed $190,000 from Waste Equip through the Houston-Galveston Area Council for FY 2024 for utilization by commercial businesses within the City of Paducah and authorizing the mayor to execute all documents related to same. A municipal order accepting the bid of Ray Black & Son in the amount of $45,128 for renovations to the Hotel Metropolitan Purple Room and authorizing the mayor to execute all agreements and documents related to same.
So moved.
Second.
Call roll.
Commissioner Guess?
Aye.
Commissioner Henderson?
Aye.
Commissioner Smith?
Aye.
Commissioner Wilson?
Aye.
Mayor Bray?
Aye. So we have two ordinances to adopt, both of which were read a couple of weeks ago, so this is
Do you want to
the,
grab that municipal order before we move on?
oh, did I miss it?
The one that we just moved.
That we pulled off.
Oh, okay. All right, so we will move to the municipal order for the contract modification. So if you'll, I'll ask the city clerk to read that.
A proposed motion of the Board of Commissioners to adopt a municipal order entitled, a municipal order adopting contract modification number 2 to the construction contract with Mid-States Construction Incorporated for the construction and material items at Robert Cherry Civic Center in the amount of $6,168.52 and a 45-day contract extension and authorizing the mayor to execute the contract modification and all documents related to same.
So moved, I'm sorry.
Second.
Okay, Amy, tell us about this contract modification and what it means.
Sure. So we had a couple of discovery items and a couple of preferences like door locks, things like that. So that's where the $6,000 amount comes from. But the other piece of this is a 45-day extension to the substantial completion. The contract currently has substantial completion of November 13th. And because of expected delivery delays, we've asked for another 45 days, which would make the substantial completion December 28th.
So we asked for it or the contractor?
Sorry, we, as in the contractor, the contractor asked
Okay,
for it,
okay,
yes.
Yeah.
I mean, you're missing a prime booking season, but I'm assuming you probably hadn't booked anything
No, we
in
haven't.
there,
We
not
haven't,
knowing. I'm
yeah.
not surprised at all about the delay.
Yeah.
Yeah.
We had originally anticipated, even though the original contract was a 210-day from notice to proceed, we had specifically held off on engagement of any bookings or that, knowing that there was a good potential just based on what's happening in the construction industry.
What, I know this is not a little off topic, but we brought it up last time, the opportunity to repave the parking lot.
Yeah, we're working on it as a separate, to go out as a separate bid, and staff is working out to get that information together so we can release those
So do we intend to like co-time that? I mean,
as best that we can. Yeah, and then with this delay or this extension, it gives us a better opportunity to work on that before the asphalt plants close.
Yeah, and that was the key, is that we really want to try to get it done before asphalt plants close, so.
oh, so not next season, this season?
Correct.
Right.
Okay.
That's the hope.
We better get going.
I know.
Okay. All right, very good. Any other questions? I just, city manager and I discussed bringing this off and discussing it because of the 45-day delay and, the fact that this has been such a sensitive topic, in much of the community and people are anxious. We're all anxious, to have the Civic Center reopened, the new Civic Center, so. But, so we'll live with the delay and And hopefully there won't be any more.
Hopefully not.
Okay. All right. Call roll.
Commissioner Guess?
Aye.
Commissioner Henderson?
Aye.
Commissioner Smith?
Aye.
Commissioner Wilson?
Aye.
Mayor Bray?
Aye. Okay, we'll move to two ordinances to adopt, and I'll let the city clerk read the first one.
A proposed motion that the Board of Commissioners adopt an ordinance entitled, an ordinance authorizing and directing the mayor to execute contract modification number 3 with Pace Contracting LLC to decrease the contract by $10,000 for the Pump Station Number 2 rehabilitation project. This ordinance is summarized as follows. The mayor is hereby authorized to execute contract modification number 3 with Pace Contracting LLC to decrease the contract amount by $10,000, adjusting the total construction project from $5,027,269.64 to $5,017,269.64.
So moved.
Second.
I just have one quick question on, both of these ordinances that we're adopting are savings.
Correct.
They're reductions. So does that money come out of a grant that we would have received, or is that money that's net positive to the city?
It's net positive to the city based on our funding.
Okay.
So, yeah.
All right. Maybe I asked that question 2 weeks ago, I can't remember.
No,
but-
no, it's a good question. But it is, yeah, they both of these up for adoption tonight are savings, and realize savings based to the hard work of our team and working with the contractors to
Yeah,
realize them.
it's great, so.
Does that go back to the general fund? It can be redirected or what?
These allocations, I have to go back and look on, I was thinking, I don't know if, I don't think in our finance, but if those were ARPA funded or not, but it would come back into that department's allocation for.
Why don't you just send us an email
Yeah,
on it, if you don't
we'll
mind?
look at it.
so.
We'll formalize
Good
that.
question.
Mhm.
Okay.
But they
I'll-
would be retained. It would not
Yeah.
be going back to an
Right.
external party.
Okay, I'll call roll, please.
Commissioner Guess?
Aye.
Commissioner Henderson?
Aye.
Commissioner Smith?
Aye.
Commissioner Wilson?
Aye.
Mayor Bray?
Aye. Okay, second ordinance to be adopted?
A proposed motion that the Board of Commissioners adopt an ordinance entitled, an ordinance authorizing and directing the mayor to execute contract modification number 1 with Jim Smith Contracting LLC to decrease the contract by $74,320 for the Buckner Lane project. This ordinance is summarized as follows. The mayor is hereby authorized to execute contract modification number 1 with Jim Smith Contracting LLC for a decrease in the amount of $74,320 and a new total contract cost of $1,911,194.37.
So moved.
Second.
Any questions about this one? Okay.
I will just say for certain, I do know this was part of that $4 million that had been allocated out of that ARPA funding that we had gotten in for that Buckner line. And so this is additional money that we have in that.
It goes back into the ARPA fund.
It stays with us, but
Oh,
yes,
yeah.
to reallocate.
Yeah, right.
But I will confirm on the other one where those funds came from.
So this was actually added to a wastewater,
Stormwater.
to
This was part of the
stormwater
stormwater,
project,
yeah,
right?
yeah. This was, so as we allocated 4 million of that 6 point some odd million towards
So this is
stormwater.
from that.
This was one of those projects that we ended up funding of that $4 million.
So would it stay for stormwater, another stormwater project, or could be reallocated?
We have that option to,
Right.
however, we have a couple of projects that we weren't able to get to because of cost. These projects that we did with those ARPA funds were a lot more than what we anticipated. So there is some looking at to see if some of this money can be added to some of those other projects. It's not a lot, I mean, it's a great savings but in the grand scheme of
Yeah.
things of a large project, it doesn't.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But we also are on the clock, so to speak, to expend these funds based on the federal guidelines.
Yeah.
So
Okay,
we'll look
great.
to see how we can get that done in the most efficient way and to the best use.
Okay, call roll.
Commissioner Guess?
Aye.
Commissioner Henderson?
Aye.
Commissioner Smith?
Aye.
Commissioner Wilson?
Aye.
Mayor Bray?
Aye. Okay, we have one ordinance to introduce tonight that's on Section 8 housing. So I'll ask the city clerk to read it. And then Darren.
Yeah, we've got members, Lasika and Joseph from the Housing
Okay.
Authority here.
Go ahead, read the.
A proposed motion that the Board of Commissioners introduce an ordinance entitled, an ordinance adopting the annual operating budget for the Paducah, Kentucky Section 8 Housing Choice Voucher Program for the fiscal year July 1, 2023 through June 30, 2024, by estimating revenues and resources and appropriating funds for the operation of said program. This ordinance is summarized as follows. This ordinance adopts the annual operating budget for the fiscal year beginning July 1, 2023 and ending June 30, 2024 for the Section 8 Housing Choice Voucher Program.
So moved.
Second?
Okay, so we all know Lasica, but I want to make sure everybody knows Joseph Anderson, our new Director of the Housing Authority. Just want to officially welcome you, and this is your first time before the commission, so we appreciate having you in the community.
Thank you. Appreciate it.
And Lasica, I'll turn it over to you, or Joseph, whichever one.
Well, I'll get it started then. We apologize for the delay in providing specific documentation. We have had some server issues, so we cannot access any of our data. So we have paper copies of everything that we're going to have you guys
You
look
can't,
at.
you can't access any of your data? Did I hear that right?
That is correct. So what we, formally provided at the last meeting is an update, so you'll have these documentation. The way funding works for Section 8 is HUD provides us funding based on the fiscal year, the prior year. So everything that we do is an anticipated budget for the following year. So we are starting with the same fiscal year of July 1 to June 30th. So if you look at the very first documentation, this particular documentation, you can see the growth in our units months lease, because those units months lease drive what we're going to receive in funding. So if you look at July, the start of the total month, it's going to be in the 7th column. We started with 352 vouchers that we had, and we have really pushed servicing our community to better serve what we have for our vouchers. We have a total of 623, we have 5 more allocated vouchers, 628 vouchers that we have allocated, but we have funding to service 391 vouchers. So at the end of June, we are proud to say that we have 389 vouchers that we are using as based on the funding that is provided by HUD. So that just kind of gives you just a little bit of growth of how we've transitioned from being a standard agency to hopefully a high performer for this next fiscal term.
Can I ask a question?
Yes, you sure can.
So the funding, the difference between the units that are funded, which is 391, you said?
Yes.
And the total available, which is? what's that?
628.
So what's the difference between those two numbers? And why could they be funded if we want them to be funded?
We wish they could. However, HUD just provides us enough monies to allocate for the vouchers that we had at one period in time. So what happened in 2013, HUD decided that we were not going to receive as many funds, and so they decreased our funding, but they did not decrease the allocation of vouchers. And when I returned in 2016, it puzzled me because I wanted to know why.
Sure.
If you were decreasing our funding, why didn't we decrease the allocation of vouchers that we have? So that's one item on the agenda for us to be able to discuss with HUD. You remember we reallocated those VASH vouchers, and so we went from 27 anticipated to 20. We're still getting that information approved through the VMAC, but the same difference with our vouchers. We can instruct HUD that we're not utilizing these vouchers, so we really need to take some of these vouchers off of our units months lease so we can actually have a better percentage of how we utilize these vouchers, because we have not had over 400 vouchers in 10 years.
Okay.
So
I had somebody in my office from HUD a week before last, I guess, who was in here talking really about ways to increase our vouchers, but what it looks like is you've got 389 of the 391
That's based on funding. So what typically happens is HUD will provide you more funding with the vouchers that you increase to. So it's a 60-day process. So they're looking at 2 months of voucher utilization to say, okay, we can give you more funds based on a certain percentage. So normally HUD gives us an increase of 2% of monies to be able to house more families. So that's what we're looking at.
I'm sorry I've asked so many questions.
No, you're fine.
It's just a big mystery to me, how it all, and so what you're saying is if we had the need for another 10 vouchers, we could get the money.
Yes, as long as we have the properties available. See, and that's been an issue, in the community. There hasn't been enough housing available for us to lease. So sometimes we call it lease in place. So once we go down the waiting list and we usually issue 35 vouchers. We don't wait for any number of families to come to the top of the list. We issue in groups. So when we issue in those groups, if we're able to lease 10 families, sometimes it's because they already live in the units that they want to reside in to use the voucher at. But for the ones that are looking, maybe staying with family, it's very hard for them to find units when there's not a lot of units available. We push some education seminars to get information out to the community for anyone that wanted to actually become a landlord on our program. And it was successful. However, the skepticism and the myths of renting to low-income housing families, it still exists. So we're still trying to do a lot of encouraging and, just get information out to the public that these vouchers, we're helping to actually just pay rental assistance. And the families that utilize these vouchers are just like you and me. It could be your family member, elderly or disabled, just anyone, So we're just looking for someone to come onto the program and have units available. And with all the talk about development and everything that's going on around the city, we're just looking for someone to be able to house some of the families in different communities. It doesn't have to be in, Southside Paducah or, other locations. We want to be able to have an opportunity to expand housing to everyone in any location as long as they qualify for that program.
So we need not only encouragement, but we need information out there too.
Yes.
And some things to dispel some of the myths that are out there about Section 8 or public housing or low-income housing.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
And that seminar, we did a seminar. We try to do a seminar at least once a year. It's hard to get people that work Monday through Friday, 8 to 4:30 or 5, to want to come back at 6 when we're out of work, or get them to come in and, get their time during the work hours. But, everyone's not a stay-at-home, landlord. Some of them have other jobs as well.
Right.
So we're just encouraging anyone that has any units available to please give us an opportunity to have them available to our families.
That was actually HUD's angle,
Yes.
that they were talking, is how do we get more landlords interested, and so.
And everything that we do is based on the fair market rent, and that's allocated through HUD. And so we're not metropolitan, and that's one of the reasons why our fair market rents are a little bit lower than some of the larger cities like Louisville and Lexington and some of the other areas. But we still have a pretty good market. I think one-bedroom fair market rents are $734, but that amount does include the utilities. So it's, it just depends, maybe $600, $650. We're pushing it at $700 for a one-bedroom family or one-bedroom household. So we're still encouraging, if you guys have any rental property that maybe is available, we would love to put a family in it. I'm going to get to the next documentation, so you'll kind of see the numbers.
Great.
And it'll help assist with why this is such an estimate. So like I said, HUD gives us information based on a 60-day time period. So if you look at the disbursement schedule, you'll look down at the very bottom. It gives June 2023. That's where I derived our numbers for. We're going to look at the last month of the fiscal year, and then that's what we're going to use to kind of estimate what we would anticipate receiving for the following fiscal year, with an increase of about 2%. So for the HAP dollars, this is dollars that are going toward the landlord's payment of each person that lives in their unit. So it would be the HAP payment, that's what we call it. I don't want to give you a whole bunch of acronyms and then you're wondering what they mean. But that's
doing fine.
$161,296 a month. So we receive that in funding for families. And not everyone is zero income. So there's some families that may pay $200, $300, $500, even some that maybe even pay $600, depending on, how large the unit is. But when you look at the administrative fees, which is allocated as AF, administration fees disbursement, we're getting $19,275, and then they gave us an additional $757. So we use that particular total added together to be the administrative fees that we receive. And those are restricted. So we have to use those for salaries, benefits, and so we multiply that information by 12, then take that and multiply it by 2%. So we can say this is our anticipated budget that we need to allocate for those special restrictions for
Okay.
salaries and things like that. So your budget expense tracker gives you the total dollar amount. I keep standing up, but if I pull this down any further, it's probably gonna fall. So I'm on my tippy toes. So right now, we're looking at receiving approximately $240,384 for restricted funding that goes for salaries, benefits, office supplies, and things like that. Don't forget about the 2% increase. We didn't put it on there, but we're anticipating what HUD is going to send us because our numbers has increased for those units months lease, so that's going to increase the funding that we receive. But again, we're 60 days out. Some of this information, you'll see that it's dated for like June 30th, and then the next disbursement letter that we received came on August 1st. And so we're anticipating more funding to be able to take care of this fiscal year for 2023, 2024. And then the next sheet is the actual budget, and you can see the allocations. They're broke down by accounts and salaries, legal fees, staff training. So everything that everyone else has in their budget, within reason, accounting fees. We do have a software provider that takes care of our actual program that we run, that we enter data in, and they are a big part of making sure that we have everything we need to enter data and be able to keep up with that data. So we're working diligently to try to stay within the budget. I think right now we're anticipating about at least $8,000 more, so $248,000 to take care of this fiscal year's budget. And all of that information is on the documents that you have. So we're anticipating staying under budget and being successful with increasing the vouchers that we have.
So the $20,000 for inspection services, is that, what is inspection services?
Okay, so HUD requires us to have housing quality standard inspections, which have changed now to Inspire inspections. So each unit has to be inspected and follow HUD guidelines to be able to pass to say that a family is able to live in a safe, decent, and affordable house. So we have an inspector that goes out and looks at those units. We used to have someone in-house, if you guys remember, I don't know if you've been here long enough, Jackie Wallace, that used to work downstairs in the inspection department. He worked upstairs in the Section 8 department. So we still have to have these units inspected, and I couldn't do it all, so we had to hire
And
someone.
what are they looking for? I'm sorry. And what are they looking for in terms of inspection?
So if you're getting a housing quality standard inspection, now Inspire, I have to say that because it's changing. We're looking to make sure there's no deficiencies within the plumbing, the HVAC. Now, we're not certified or professionals, but we have to make sure that those things turn on, that the toilet flushes, that there's electrical wiring that's not exposed. We're looking for carbon detectors. We're looking for smoke detectors. If your unit has gas, you have to have a CO2 detector at least 10 feet away from the gas source. We're looking to make sure there's no chipping or peeling paint because lead-based paint is a no-no, which it was banned in 1978, but we still have to have each participant and landlord verify that there's no knowledge of any lead-based paint in the home. We're looking for tripping hazards. We're looking for exterior deficiencies, no broken windows. They have to have screens now. That's a new Inspire rule. They have to have no holes in the siding, no holes in the door, the size of, that penetrates through, so it could be a hole in the door, but it can't be penetrated through. That has to be fixed. So some things have changed. Used to, you couldn't have a hole in the door at all. So it's just basic standards that you would even look for
Right,
if you were deciding to move into a unit.
Sure.
It's more so cosmetic, but when the families move into the unit, they're going to tell you what's wrong. Oh, my plumbing is not working, or my HVAC is not blowing enough cool. So anything that you would find as being a typical cosmetic, that's what we're looking for, because we wouldn't be able to professionally tell you anything else. We are looking to contract that out because I have to do quality control on those units, and it's just a lot of time consuming. We usually inspect per year about 145 units because inspections are done biannually. We used to do them
Biannually.
every year, but it was kind of a waste of our services. You know, maybe after 2 years, there could be some deficiencies, but that first year is not, for the most part.
So how do you handle it if you, once upon a time you did it annually, now we do it biannually?
Yes.
So a lot of things could change in that year.
So
So how do we,
how we take care of that is the tenant comes in annually. So if they have any issues, they can request an inspection
Okay.
just to kind of not be a tattletale, and then we're just going out to look to see.
Okay.
So we can assist them to make sure that it's still safe and decent. But they have an opportunity also, when there are deficiencies before that annual re-exam, to actually contact us in writing to let us know what the deficiencies are. And so we will do what we call a special inspection. We would give them at least 30 to 60 days to make the deficiencies. If the heating and air goes out and everybody's heating and air out, we may have to wait 2 or 3 weeks, but they may provide fans or a window unit, until things are able to be done. So we try to make sure we alleviate any issues with the tenants. You have a question? Yes.
Just so I understand or confirm what I understand, or correct me. The city does not, we don't give you guys any money. We don't really manage you guys, correct? I
Okay,
mean,
so we are,
Explain for the people out there the relationship between the city government and Section 8 program.
so to the best of my knowledge, we were once an entity inside the city. That changed in 2018, where we moved inside of the Housing Authority of Paducah's office. And so with HUD, we are still under the city's tax ID and things that haven't been formally transferred over to the Housing Authority. So we were under a management agreement to be moved, but not to be taken over by the Housing Authority until some period of time, which is not been decided, as HUD has to make that decision. And we don't have an explanation of why they haven't made the decision. We've been over in the Housing Authority's building and been managed by them. We moved over in 18. They took over with everything that we did in 2020, meaning my salary and things like that. So we formally have no connection with the city outside of using their tax ID and, just what HUD has actually proclaimed from years ago. So we're still waiting to be able to move off from under the city to be under the Housing Authority at some point in time.
That's great, thank you. And then some misconception people have is that Section 8 houses are your authority to authorize them in the city, in the county? How far does that go?
McCracken County.
McCracken
So
County.
any
So
unit
that's
that's
your
available in McCracken
sandbox.
County. So we do have some units that are in West Paducah. We do have some units that are actually Keble, McCracken County, and then Bowes, McCracken County.
Okay, cool,
So
thank you.
all over the county.
Now, the plan long-term, the plan is to bring both entities, the public housing as well as the vouchers, under one entity. Neither entity at this time can absorb the other, because that was a rule that HUD implemented, I believe, 2016, something like that. So we would have to look at how to make that a smooth transition, and really, it's just a matter of when HUD says, we can do that, because generally, if you've never housed one of the other programs, they're not going to allow you to take the other over. But in this situation, I believe, with the blessing of the city, that's something that you are interested in, and we are interested in from the Housing Authority point of view, is just putting them under one umbrella and being able to move forward.
When they were here and did their audit, you know, I mean, that was a topic of discussion. I mean, so the lady that runs, you know, HUD for the state, you know, was very aware of it. So you know, I'm hoping that that's moving along.
It's been a topic of discussion for a long, lot of years. And it hasn't happened. And
Yeah,
don't know why.
we're
Yeah.
wondering the same thing, you know, who's gonna take the initiative to say that this is how we're gonna move forward? I don't know if there's, the right person is in office to say, yes, go ahead, we're gonna sign the documentation, and that's what we're waiting on. So it's been presented, but who's gonna take the step to say we're gonna move forward? And that's what we're waiting on. We have a field office rep, Frank McNeil, who we've contacted, and, you know, he's telling us the right things to do, but of course, that is over his head as well. So we're just waiting on HUD. How's it?
Might be waiting for the November election.
Yeah, maybe so.
And that was,
Yes.
that
8
is
years from
different prior to where I came from, because where I was previously, we had both programs up under one
Yeah.
umbrella. So when I came here, it was very different, just looking at that. So we're hoping to, you know, change that sooner than later.
We're hoping as well. So we're all on the same page. We just need
Absolutely.
somebody to make a decision.
Absolutely,
Yes.
absolutely.
Yeah, we have, our staff has been, and our team's been working on it long before my tenure started, and we continue to have those dialogues. But it's a great question, Commissioner, because that leads into why this presentation is appearing before this body, because HUD now says that the organizing authority for this voucher program has to approve this budget, and that's why it's before tonight. And
Yes.
in previous years, you haven't had to do that. You've received and filed it, but that's why we're here tonight.
Yes.
It's just kind of bizarre to me because we don't give them money, they don't,
Right.
you know, y'all are
Bizarre
We
is
said the same.
independent.
bizarre is a good word.
A little
That's
out of
biz-
place because we thought, you know, with the managing
Right.
housing authority, that we would go through them to, and then, like
Yeah.
you said, filed and
Receive
document,
it.
receive and file. And we did that, and then we got our hands spanked. So we're here for approval, and we did. It was not really a finding, but one of the findings that they encouraged us to get approved every year. So even though we go before our board to present, we still have to have you guys on to assist with approvals.
Okay,
Thank you.
You're welcome.
so where are we? Do we need?
Thank you.
Appreciate it.
Did you have anything else?
No, unless you have.
No, we're all good. I mean, great job.
Yeah,
Thanks for
thank you.
being
Thank
here.
you so much.
Very much.
You did a good job.
Yes, you did.
She makes you look good, Joseph.
She helped me to figure this out.
Okay, so would you read the ordinance? Have you already read it? Okay.
It's introduced. We're
It's
good to
introduced, so
move
no
on.
action tonight.
Oh, okay, all right, thank you for keeping me straight, picking out my clothes. So, all right, the next item is a discussion about the commission priorities. And just to remind all of us and anybody listening interested, you know, the commission sits down once a year and we work on we pick our priorities, and then our staff throughout the year work to try to accomplish those priorities as best they can. And on a quarterly basis, our Assistant City Manager, Michelle, gives us an update. So, welcome.
Thank you. Thanks for that intro. Good evening, Mayor, Commissioners, City Manager, and City Clerk. This is our mid-year report, and as a reminder, this is really meant to be conversational, so please feel free to jump in with questions and comments as we go through the items. This is exactly what you were just saying, Mayor Bray. This is our process. We have our retreat and the priority adoptions, and then we get into implementation and communication and reporting. I did want to mention all the information we're going over tonight is available on our website at paducahky.gov/commission priorities. So this year we have 10 commission priorities and 5 continuous improvement items. You have the presentation in front of you and then the full report. I think the overall theme is that we have made very good progress on all of the priorities. There are a few items that, when they're newer, it takes a little bit more time for us to get up and running. So tonight, we're really going to highlight the significant updates. If there's anything I don't talk about, please feel free to ask me about it, or it's in your report as well. All right, so kicking us off, we'll start with the bike lanes and trails. We did receive a technical assistance grant through the National Park Service. And so what that grant will do is actually help us figure out what the next phases are of the Greenway Trail, and also how we can incorporate more bike lanes into our community and what we're kind of calling urban bike loops. So that will actually be kicked off in September. Once we have the kickoff, they'll come up with a larger project plan, and we plan to have a lot of community engagement with this. So community engagement will hopefully be this fall is what we're looking at. It just depends on the project plan.
So we will get together in September with who?
It's our representative from the National Park Service.
Okay.
Yep. They're actually going to lead the process for us.
Okay, and so the September meeting will be the first step?
Yes.
And then they will continue on with community engagement, working with us in community engagement. And at that September meeting, we'll lay out the plan on how to get that engagement in order to move forward.
Yep, you got it. And that initial kickoff is just internal. So we have a project team with engineering, Parks and Rec, planning, city manager's office. I think the mayor will be there to talk to us a little bit about his vision for the project as well. So we have it's kind of the internal kickoff is probably a better way to say that.
Yeah. Any commissioner that has, input on that, I would welcome. If you have thoughts about long-term planning, because this is a project that's going to take years to complete. But we listed it as one of our priorities, and there's opportunities to extend the bike trails, the Greenway Trail, but all of it costs money, and there has to be a design, and so I'm very open to input from everybody on it, so go forward.
Yeah.
Okay.
I'd be glad to send out something before that to the commissioners. Okay. With city facilities, our finance team and leadership team has been very hard at work creating our kind of the draft capital improvement plan. We have 85 total items so far, but that's across the whole city and all projects, so maybe half of those or a third are facility projects. So the next step would be prioritizing those and working through the funding mechanism for them. We did start off with kind of a small 1 to 3 year facility project plan. So we have been able to get some facility projects underway, like the Civic Center. We're doing some work on Fire Station 2 with sealing that building, some, I think, tuck pointing and new windows. And then, the compost building, we need a new building out there. So we have been able to go ahead and start that while we're working on the longer, CIP plan.
Did you have something? Were you going to say something?
No, I just said good.
Oh, okay. Sorry, I didn't. I missed it.
It's been a heavy lift from our
I need to
finance
speak
team. They've
up.
done a great job facilitating that process. So they were just telling us on one of our Monday morning check-ins that they're almost to the point ready to get to city manager's office and start really working through prioritizing and funding, that type of thing.
Yeah, so, I've mentioned this before, but the city's done an excellent job of funding our vehicles, on a regular basis without us having to budget for that all the time. We put money away in a fund, but we have not done a particularly good job on our facilities. And facilities was I guess, one of the top issues that our directors came to us with, back in February when we talked about it. So we're allocating a couple $1 million for facility improvement, as well as going into a fund, for future funding. We've got some needs on the horizon, a new fire station. Our police chief has talked about, the needs that they have there. Right. And so we just have to continue to be disciplined to put money away for these improvements in the future.
Yeah, very well said. I know the leadership team really appreciates the support of the board in funding those facilities and looking for long-term solutions. So they really appreciate that and feel heard.
Okay.
With community growth, the main highlight here is we've started working with Make My Move for the remote worker assistance. The kickoff just happened with the planning department. So our next steps are we're getting incorporated into their website. We've had 10 remote workers relocate to the city. Our goal is 25, so we're going to be working with them to get 15 more into the city, but that has just kicked off, so I don't know if there's anything you'd like to add particular to that.
Just that I met these folks last year, and so all this came through me, and I was impressed with them, and it's been a long time coming, but I think, they're going to help us market our city to people who are looking to move.
Exactly.
And it could be remote workers, or it could be somebody that's just ready to move. And so the way we present ourselves, there are people out there looking to move, relocate. Our society's mobile. And so we just want to put our best foot forward selling our community.
Yeah,
So
absolutely.
I know Commissioner Wilson is familiar with Make My Move, so they met with her. So any comments?
No.
Okay.
All right. Focusing on downtown, we have a lot going on downtown, but I really wanted to highlight, two of the major projects with the Riverfront and City Block. So with City Block, we really continue to reinforce the project milestones with Wayland and then provide project updates to the community about those Phase 1 facilities like the parking lot and the hotel structure. With the Riverfront, we've actually completed 60% design and we're working on 90% design. We have a goal of soliciting a construction contract later this year, but of course that is dependent upon the regulatory compliance that they're working through. Yeah.
Just a question, can you give us a quick status on the hotel downtown? I have people ask me, and
Sure.
I know it looks like the parking lot portion of that's going full steam ahead.
Yeah. Would you like to answer that, Mayor?
Yeah, I'll do that. We ran into some delays with the foundation, and so Wayland was in a couple of weeks ago. I think they're working very hard to find subs for the project. I'm certain they're dealing with cost overruns, which is also affects their bank loan. So the CEO told me that they expect to close their loan next month, and the foundation work on the hotel itself should start shortly thereafter. So that, but we've been dealing with lots of delays and cost overruns and
Interest rates.
so there's lots of factors that are affecting it, but Ray Black and Sons is continues to work on the parking lot. They're also a bit of an interface with Wayland here. And so Chris Black has been a big help to all of us in the project so far. So we continue to push and will continue to push.
Once that center part is finished, that they're going to pave that, right? So then will it open back up
Yeah.
for parking? Okay.
And then we'll have, that'll be, I think the target is October-ish timeframe of getting that done and completed. Of course, weather is that, but that will then reopen to public parking. The second phase of the private section, which is the phase that fronts Broadway, will not, that'll reopen, but there'll be a distinct difference in that, the way it exists today, and the way it, in the new part. And so that won't be redeveloped at this time because the plan under the original scope of the project was for that to be a mixed-use commercial and retail residential space there along Broadway. And so there will be some, the nice newer part in the middle, and we'll still have but there will be a transition to where you can get to one part to the other. You won't have to drive around the block to get to it. So.
And the last thing I'll say is, we're working on, we're working on a cost gap that we have with the Riverfront project, the build grant. So we're working really hard. Under the current scenario, we need to put a shovel in the ground in April of next year.
Yep.
And we've talked to the governor. We've talked to our legislators, we've talked to Senator McConnell, we talked to Congressman Comer, so we're leaving no stone unturned.
That's right.
Right.
We have, but I just made a note of a couple more we need to talk to.
So we're working hard on that, and we believe that we will be successful. Okay?
Great, all right. Focusing on housing, as you all know, the Joint Comprehensive Plan is underway in partnership with the county. This is a huge community effort. Planning shared that they have already engaged with over 300 stakeholders from our community. Next up, I think they'll be on site later this month to have some additional meetings, and they're working on the community survey to roll out. We also really focused on information sharing, so our team has really been pushing out information about Kickstart meetings, Planning Commission, and Board of Adjustment to the board and city manager's office to make sure we're all aligned of what's coming through. And then we recently had a surplus property sale where we did transfer 3.
My comment on housing is,
Yeah.
I just don't think we're doing enough. I mean, we've got a small window here where there's a big demand for housing, and I just feel like waiting on the Joint Comprehensive Plan to be a catalyst for moving forward on some sort of project to encourage home building in the city I just feel like we're missing the boat on that.
I agree. I've kind of been preaching that for a while, that I just think, how can we work with developers for all price ranges?
Well, we are proceeding with, we are going to contract with a firm to put on an initial workshop for local developers. So, Darren, do you remember the name of that?
Incremental development.
Okay.
Oh, I'm not familiar with that.
Yeah.
And when is that going to be?
We're looking at this fall. Currently, planning is getting sponsorships for that initial workshop, and then they're nailing down a date. Our goal is this fall.
Yeah, let's try to get a date for that. I think we mentioned that once before.
Yes.
Let's get a
We've
date.
got to make that happen.
Yep,
So,
yes.
let's don't wait on the sponsorships. Let's
We're
line.
not. I mean, I talked to Nick last week, and I told him that same thing. It's like,
Okay.
we've got one community partner in a bank that's on board already, and that if the gap that the city would make up, and we need to get that
Okay,
scheduled.
very good.
Okay.
Okay, go ahead.
Next, we have minority inclusion, and this has had a lot of effort this year. I know the board recently appointed the Human Rights Commission members. Our diversity specialist recruitment is underway, which will help support that board with human resources. And we are looking at kind of scheduling their first meeting in the coming weeks and getting them up and running. We've also had several internal efforts going on. We've completed our DE&I survey from the employees. We're getting with the leadership team on those results. We've solicited some feedback from the commissioners and PDAB. And then we're meeting with Mayor Bray today to talk about some action plan and next steps around training and career development. Oops. And then we did, with the help of PDAB, the Paducah Diversity Advocacy Board, the leadership team participated in a training with local leaders in the area. It was at their recommendation, and it was pretty well received, so we're looking at getting that further into the departments.
Yeah, so I think one of the things that's worth mentioning is that we did a DEI employee survey. So we had the results back. And we're going to share those results with our leadership team, and we're going to take action
Yes,
based upon the results of that survey.
correct.
And there's, more of a sense of urgency to get going on that.
Yes, correct.
Okay?
Okay. Looking at neighborhoods, the police department has done some great work. I'm sure everybody has seen the neighborhood meetings they're having. They've had 14 this year, representing a total of 19 neighborhoods, because sometimes they group neighborhoods at these meetings. And one item that has come out of this is the Rolandtown Neighborhood Watch efforts. My understanding, and Commissioner Henderson may know a little bit more, but they're in their initial stages of getting it up and running. The city is trying to help them where we can. Also, we're looking at signage and stickers and different things that we can provide. And then I wanted to give a shout out to the police department because they've been a great partner. I gave you all these cards that there's a picture up there. It says your city government. They're also helping provide information about city services. So these were business cards we created that has a QR code on the background that you can actually scan, and it'll take you to our online services where you can get our Paducah 311 app and get some more information about what services we offer. And I know the police department is going to be compiling themes and action items out of those meetings as well.
So we
because-
did take minutes?
Oh, yeah.
Okay.
Yes.
Because I'd really like to
Yes.
know what comes out of all those.
So to that point, we have targeted the second meeting in September for them to compile all that, put that together, make a presentation.
Okay. Very good.
Because they have a couple more neighborhood meetings between now and then. And so the second meeting in September to talk about that, and then how our next steps and action items. So we have that scheduled for that meeting.
How did we let people know about that? I mean, I know that when we were walking on the south side, we were letting people know, but generally, how did people find out about those meetings?
I've seen them reaching out through a number of avenues, social media. I've seen it on Nextdoor. I know Chief Laird, I think, did an interview with WPSD. So I think there's a lot of avenues that they're going through.
Okay.
And I'm not sure, they may have done some directed before the meetings as well.
Okay.
In those neighborhoods.
I think in regard to the Rolling Town, that particular neighborhood is up and running.
Great.
They already have their officers, and so they're full speed ahead. One of the things that I asked city manager last week, and that was, how do we plan to help the other neighborhoods create their neighborhood watches as well? I think that was the goal. That's where we started, to create neighborhood watches. So right now, we just had public meetings, but I don't know that we've done anything in helping them to put those committees together.
So did the Rolling Town Neighborhood Watch, did it came from the citizens, it came from the neighbors, they wanted to do it?
Well, I think the only difference that I think is there is that with the Rolling Town, I was kind of hands-on there with them and talked to the local pastors in Rolling Town, talked to some leadership, and they began from there. I haven't had the opportunity, though I have visited some of the other neighborhood meetings, I've not had an opportunity to kind of get in there and talk about the neighborhood watch.
Maybe we let Rolling Town get set up and get their officers, and maybe share some of those experiences, with some other neighborhoods, and maybe it'll catch on from that.
They can be our model.
Yeah,
Yeah.
exactly.
Yeah, it's great.
Okay.
On quality of life, the quality of life has a number of items, so I really tried to highlight some of the impact that we've had through the first of the year. So first of all, I wanted to start off with the beautification and code awareness social media campaign that our communications manager Pam did. I don't know if you saw that, but throughout the spring and summer, she was highlighting different sections of code and just beautification information. And it had over a reach or impressions of over 26,000 through social media. Additionally, we had a robust mental health awareness campaign in the month of May, both internal and external. Externally, there's a resource webpage that was created. We had radio ads, billboard, and social media. And that social media reach was over 22,000. So that's, hard work of Pam and getting that information out. We also had, our human resources did a great job. We got really positive feedback from our employees on some of the internal efforts that we had. There were weekly themes, and we had mental health kind of lunch and learn sessions, and we had 175 city employee participants at those lunch and learns. So a lot of effort was put into that, and I think we had some good reach and some great engagement with our employees. I did want to mention to the city manager's point that in September, the police department will be providing that update at the second commission meeting that will hit some of these quality of life items that are also listed as a priority.
I just wanted to just say how pleased I was with all of the mental health efforts.
Right.
I was really excited, and I look forward to seeing what we've got. I know we've got some exciting stuff coming in the days ahead, so I look forward to that as well. But I appreciate the energy that was placed into this.
Well, it's an ongoing, I commend you for, raising awareness, among the commission and the city, and it's an ongoing effort. Mental health's more an issue today than ever before, and we're post-pandemic and still dealing with a lot of things, and we have a lot of people that have needs, so thank you for your leadership on that.
And I was just going to thank Commissioner Wilson and the chamber for your leadership class, for even putting that on.
Got really high reviews.
Yeah, and received several
Good panel.
emails from some of your leadership class members thanking for being there.
We did a panel
Yeah.
Oh,
for the class on mental health.
oh, great. Yeah.
You and Chief Laird and several from the schools.
Okay,
Okay.
very good.
Thank you. So here, this is a slide with two on there, but some really big efforts here. So I want to talk a little bit about revenue equity. We had a really great meeting with the finance department and mayor and city manager's office this week. And really what they're focusing on is proactively seeking non-compliant businesses through different strategies. So just highlight a couple of them at a very high level. They're working with our partner agencies to get copies of their 1099s so that we can make sure those companies they're working with have business licenses if they're operating within the city. We have legal action on there, but I did want to highlight that finance goes through a very robust process to bring people into compliance before going through legal action. That is the last
Sure.
resort. There's payment plans, there's communication, there's a lot that we do before we get to that last resort, but we will take legal action if we have to. And then just data extraction efforts of data we already have, so combing through what data we have in our system and comparing it to the business license information to see where there may be some gaps that we can follow up. So they've been very proactive and have a good start on this, considering it was just adopted a couple months ago. You know? Is there anything you'd like to add?
Commission, the mayor saw a presentation from our finance department, and during, around this area, and during our upcoming weekly meetings, we'll be scheduling opportunity for you to see that presentation as well, so you'll get a better understanding of the depth of that our team in finance has already undertaken on this matter.
Yeah, we've assigned, John's assigned a very competent person, very experienced person that's working on that. So I wanted all of you guys to see the presentation that she gave and the efforts that she's making. So I think it'll spur some pretty good ideas,
Yeah.
whatnot.
Okay. And then with Southside enhancements, I mean, the big news is that the application process is open. Y'all are well aware for application, or for residential and business incentives. We've done neighborhood walks. There's been a lot of information pushed out. Been to the board a lot. I did check in with planning, and so far they've had 4 applications, 2 businesses and 2 residential. So the word's getting out there and we're starting to get some applications.
Keep pushing,
That's right.
keep pushing.
I saw more information go out today from Pam on that, so they're working on it.
Okay.
Okay, finally, just, I wanted to highlight the continuous improvement items. We have some, we were just talking about the Buckner, some of the ARPA funds. So I want to make sure we highlighted stormwater. We did give about, I think, 3.6 million or about 4 million in ARPA funding to stormwater projects. And this is some before and after pictures of Buckner Lane Bridge, where it goes over Crooked Creek, and we added a box culvert. So you can see the difference, and definitely the striping and the paving, and then the new bridge there on the right side. And then we also wanted to highlight South 25th Street before and after. So this has curbs, gutters, sidewalks, and that first one is South 25th in Tennessee. And then the second one is South 25th and Brooks Stadium Drive. So definitely made some enhancements over in that area with the ARPA funds.
Yeah.
Okay. I'll go through these pretty quickly. The Joint City County Sports Complex, I know they're working towards 90% design review.
They're at 100%.
Oh, they are?
I attended a meeting last week.
Okay.
They're at 100% design, and now they're preparing construction documents. So, which is going to take about 3 or 4 months, and so they hope to go out to bid in the spring
Great, thank you.
or after the first of the year.
Awesome. Sometimes my data can get outdated so quickly by the time I do the report and things
All you got to
go
do
fast.
is you attend one meeting and you get an update, so.
That's right. And then 911, we've talked a lot about. There's working with Communications International, and then the ongoing discussions for funding and governance, so
We have a meeting with the county on Monday to continue that discussion.
awesome. And then just want to highlight a couple more on protecting key historical and cultural resources. The Rhodes Heritage Group is finalizing their recommendations, and that was looking at Hotel Metropolitan, the Oscar Cross Boys and Girls House, Stuart Nelson, that project, Columbia Theater. So we're working on finalizing those recommendations and starting to have some public meetings about them
Any day.
any day. And I did just want to highlight a couple of our operational efficiencies. They've primarily been through technology advancements. We had a great presentation from Solid Waste with their new GPS that they've installed in the vehicles and some efficiencies it's led to some of our routes. We have made improvements in GIS and Microsoft 365. You know, Revenue's been up here talking about the electronic payroll file that we can receive, that we're working towards receiving. And we've made our forms fillable online. So we've really made a big push on technology advancements to become more operationally efficient. And there you have it.
I know, Michelle, I know that Brent Leggs has completed his report for the priorities that we have there. Do you know when we'll get a copy of?
Any minute. Any day.
Any day, okay.
I mean, we met with him, he was in town last week, and he was going to have worked on it this past weekend.
Yeah, we should be getting it any time because then he's leaving the country.
Yeah. So,
But I think before we're going to be able to do a full rollout, it's going to be a while.
yeah, we're going to, we're thinking about how we roll out that information to everybody. And so, I mean, as soon as we get it, we'll share it with everybody, but then we want to, we want to publicize it to the community. We spent money on the recommendations. There's a lot of, there's some big recommendations in there. So, there's a lot to swallow.
Thank you all for your leadership, and
Thank
thank you
you.
to the leadership team for all of their hard work on this.
Thank you, Assistant City Manager.
Thank you.
Appreciate you.
Okay, comments from City Manager?
None this evening, Mayor.
Any commissioners?
No.
Comment.
Yeah?
That is, I've gotten calls from a couple people that live in Cherokee Heights. Of course, got that construction going on the back end at Friendship, which
Right.
The
is
state.
blocking them in. Also, but the other issue, I drove out there, is Lone Oak Road has continued to develop and get busier. Remember, you've got all these restaurants out there now, a new gas station coming out there. And I looked, and so it makes it difficult to get in and out of there off Lone Oak Road, which I know their issue with Friendship Road is short-term, but still, even before that, I've always been worried about my safety turning on that road.
Right.
But the speed limit on that is 45 miles per hour, so I don't know what would be involved with us looking at reducing the speed limit on that. I know it's a state.
Not us.
We can have a conversation with the state.
Yeah.
In big state.
Yeah.
Yeah, well, I think it would be good to have a conversation like that. And also, that traffic comes down the road, Lone Oak Hill, down Lone Oak, Trimble Hill, and cuts across Alvin Barkley, and then you're up in the school zone, and I believe that's 35 miles per hour. So I think we really need to look at that whole deal out there from a safety aspect, so.
You're talking about my neighborhood.
Yeah, but you probably see a lot of you have trouble getting in and out.
I lost a dog up there, so.
But we'll definitely follow up, Commissioners, on that with the state.
There's a long-term plan for Lone Oak Road that the state, it's low priority in the 6-year plan, but it's an improvement with, potential sidewalks someday, and I
That
bet.
would be great.
But it's out there pretty far.
They need to take some of that property from those property owners that live there on Lone Oak.
Yeah, I'm
That's-
fighting it.
that's
I'm
a
fighting it over my dead body.
Yeah.
No, really, I mean, there is a big project that's, I mean, we need sidewalks on where I am. I mean, we need sidewalks because it's dangerous. We have people walking in the street all the time, so good input. Okay, we are going to go into executive session, and we are going to take some action when we come out of executive session, and then we are going to go back into executive session for other topics, and we don't anticipate taking action coming out the second time. So I'll let our city clerk read the motion.
A proposed motion of the Board of Commissioners to go into closed session for discussion of matters pertaining to the following topics: future sale or acquisition of a specific parcel of real estate as permitted by KRS 61.8101B, and a specific proposal by a business entity where public discussion of the subject matter would jeopardize the location, retention, expansion, or upgrading of a business entity as permitted by KRS 61.8101G.
So moved.
Second.
Call roll.
Commissioner Guest?
Aye.
Commissioner Henderson?
Aye.
Commissioner Smith?
Aye.
Commissioner Wilson?
Aye.
Mayor Bray?
Aye.
Convene in open session.
So moved. Second.
Commissioner Guess?
Aye.
Commissioner Henderson?
Aye.
Commissioner Smith?
Aye.
Commissioner Wilson?
Aye.
Mayor Bray?
Aye. Okay, we've got, is this a municipal order? Okay, we've got a municipal order that we're going to, the city clerk's going to read.
A proposed motion that the Board of Commissioners adopt a municipal order entitled, "A Municipal Order Declaring the Real Property as Improved Located at 2301 McCracken Boulevard to be surplus property, authorizing the sale of the property to Nugent Ventures LLC for and in consideration of $3 million, authorizing the city's portion of the sale proceeds to be used to redeem, pay, and discharge the Kentucky Taxable General Obligation Bonds Series 2013B, and authorizing the mayor to execute the real estate sale and purchase agreement and all other documents related to same."
So moved.
Second.
Call roll.
Commissioner Guess?
Aye.
Commissioner Henderson?
Aye.
Commissioner Smith?
Aye.
Commissioner Wilson?
Aye.
Mayor Bray?
Aye. Now, could I have a motion to go back into executive session?
So moved.
Well, she needs to read the.
Oh, I'm sorry. Okay.
A proposed motion of the Board of Commissioners to go into closed session for discussion of matters pertaining to the following topics: proposed or pending litigation as permitted by KRS 61.8101C, issues which might lead to the appointment, dismissal, or disciplining of an employee as permitted by KRS 61.8101F, and conduct of performance review of the city manager as permitted by KRS 83A.150, subsection 4D.
So moved.
Second.
Call roll.
Commissioner Guess? Aye. Commissioner Henderson?
Aye.
Commissioner Smith?
Aye.
Commissioner Wilson?
Aye.
Mayor Bray?
Aye.